Live. Right. Come on.
Thick walls here.
Here we go. Okay. So welcome everybody to Just a Guy with a Beer with Scott Fryer. I'm your host, Scott Fryer. This is episode number 18, and we are live here at These Guys Brewing Company on Franklin Street in Norwich, Connecticut, one of my amazing sponsors. And tonight we have a special guest, a little bit different tone, especially different from last week when we were dressed in costume for Halloween. Tonight we are talking whiskey. We're going to talk whiskey and the whiskey distilling process and how you actually make whiskey from beer. So I have tonight for one of my favorite places here in Connecticut, one of the best places in America for distilling whiskey from Sons of Liberty Distilling. This is Wil Santiago. So welcome, Wil, and thanks for coming on the show. I've been trying to get you guys on, man. So I'm very excited. You guys, like I said, you guys are one of my favorites.
Thank you.
You open my whiskey cabinet, and you guys are right there next to the woodruff and all the good stuff, man. So I appreciate you guys and everything you guys are doing. So Sons of Liberty, you guys are in South Kingston, Rhode Island, correct? There's 5 people watching, so if someone could comment to make sure we have a new setup here tonight, if you haven't noticed. So if you could comment whether you can hear us or not, that would be awesome. So if you want, you can pull that a little bit closer if you want. So you guys are in South Kingston, Rhode Island.
Yep.
And you guys make whiskey there.
Correct.
Now, you do beers sometime, correct?
Yeah. So we are both a distillery and a brewery. So we actually are set up to actually make beer.
Yes.
And when the tasting room was open, we were serving beer in our tasting room, primarily for on-site consumption. We did have a few bars and restaurants that served our beers, but for the most part, it was on-site consumption.
Right.
And so, we were making the gambit of styles, IPAs, Oktoberfest, lagers, you name it, we made it.
Yes.
And so as far as the whiskey goes, to your point about making whiskey and where it starts off as, a lot of people don't realize that whiskey began their life as a beer.
Right.
Whether it be a Scottish single malt or a Japanese single malt or any Kentucky bourbon or style mash. It all starts off with beer. Beer, not necessarily in the brewery sense, but beer in a very strictest sense in that it's made from sort of grain, a cereal grain, whether it be corn, barley, rye. It's mashed in much the same way that a beer is mashed, mixed with water, allowed to ferment. A lot of distilleries, of course, allow to ferment on the grain. So, we call that a distiller's grade beer, which you would not want to drink as a beer, right? It's just not going to be really good.
I mean, I'll try anything.
Well, you could try it. You wouldn't want to try it again, for sure.
Yeah, but I can say that I tried it.
Yes. And so once the fermentation process is done, much like beer, with beer, you stop it there, chill it, carbonate it, drink it. With whiskey, you take that beer, which now is called a whiskey wash, and you go ahead and throw it into the distiller. Extract the alcohol and all your flavor compounds, and then you whether you distill it once, put it into a barrel and age it, or you distill it multiple times like we do, age it in the barrel, and then let it sit for however long it sits.
That's
and
awesome.
Whiskey.
That's great. That's listen. If you, I am looking at like maybe someday getting into that. Like,
Yep.
I'm not gonna say out loud that I'm gonna build my own still in the backyard.
Why not?
That would be illegal. I mean,
Not if you're going to use the fuel's car, right?
well, right, yeah. Exactly. Now, what are the rules on that? So, if I'm distilling something in my own yard for my personal consumption, is that legal? No. Okay. So then I'm not going to do that. So I have Nodder, if you're watching, I am not going to put still in my backyard. So well, that's something I would like to learn how to craft, like whiskey. I'm a big bourbon whiskey guy. I'm a domestic whiskey bourbon. I'm not a Scotch guy. Any of the Irish or the British stuff, not my cup of tea. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Jack Daniels fan.
Okay.
I'm a very big Jack fan. And I like the regular Jack, but I also like their special single barrels, their Sinatra, Gentleman. It's all those are my favorites. I'm a big fan of your Battle Cry.
Okay.
So Because first of all, you guys have that's what drew me to you guys originally.
Yeah.
Was I love the name.
Yep.
The name, it was everything to me.
Yeah.
So it immediately caught my eye, and that caught my attention. So that's when I started looking into it more.
Yeah.
And then me and one of my buddies went on Groupon. Is that even still a thing anymore?
What?
Groupon?
You know, I
I
remember
hope
those
not.
days we put out Groupon tickets, but
Yeah.
it's been 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
right?
it was a while when you first opened. We did a Groupon thing for like $20 a person. We got a
Right.
tour,
Yeah.
and then we got some whiskey, and I ended up buying a couple of bottles of whiskey. And my buddy was like, "Jesus, kind of expensive." I'm like, "Shh." The whole thing with when you're getting a tattoo, they tell you, "Cheap ain't good, and good ain't cheap," right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't mind paying $35-$40 for a bottle of booze because I know that it's going to be quality, right? Because I
In
can
addition,
go.
when it's locally made, not to chirp in, but like you're supporting
Yes.
those that are supporting each other and you're local. So
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's one of my
that's the
main
number
things.
one thing right now.
Right, and we were talking a little bit before we came on air, like how I got started in this and why I do this. I started this as a hobby, but then as I started getting more viewers and more people were like, "Oh, you should do this," and people started liking it. Well, I said, "Well, I can use my platform to help people like Becca and Ray, and next door at Epicure, and all the smaller places that people may not know about that aren't in our area, right? Because people like, I mean, how many Norwich isn't exactly a tourist destination, but we get a lot of people from the casinos, right? So people that want to come to the casinos, like I have a lot of family in New Jersey, New York, around Connecticut that's not maybe necessarily from here. Even people from this area, they may not know that this place is here. There's so many little great spots around here. So, and even around this area of southeastern Connecticut, there's so many awesome little breweries and little mom and pop places that are fantastic. And if you're not a regular to the craft beer culture, then you may or may not know about that.
Right.
So part of the reason why I do what I'm doing here is because I want people to know about those things. Yeah. I want people to say, "Hey, we're going to go take a trip from the other side of the state. Say I have friends that are watching in Danbury. We're going to go over to the other side of the state. And we're going to go have lunch at these guys and try some of their beers. Then we'll go to Epicure. We'll go to Wilson's, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll go to all the different
Spread the
spots. Yeah, you spread the love. Yeah. Go to my website, which by the way is www.justaguywithebeer.com. If you go to my website, that's exactly what my tagline is right there. On top of it is I'm spreading the craft beer love, and in this case, the craft whiskey love. Because speaking of love, I was doing some research on you guys, and I was literally amazed. I mean, I'm not because how great your whiskey is, but I was literally amazed and blown away by the amount of accolades you guys have won. I mean, like I wrote some down. The ones that caught my eye were like 2017. You guys were the American Craft Producer of the Year. That's not like here.
Yeah.
That's here, like America.
Yeah.
You guys were like, I mean, 19 awards for Battle Cry, 16 for Uprising, right? Uprising, right? Yeah, Uprising. I haven't had that one yet, admittedly, because I'm kind of like brand loyal.
Okay.
If I find one thing that I like and I stick to it, but I'm trying to get better at that. Trying different things, but 19 for Battle Cry, and that's amazing to me.
I mean, we're very proud, and obviously we've done a lot of work to get there, and I give all the credit to Mike Petrucci, who's the founder of the company. He's got this incredible talent. I would go as far as calling him our master blender, right? Because part of the art of creating a good whiskey is blending. Pick and choose which barrels, because you have a barrel and it's going to develop whiskey in a very much different way than another barrel. Same product into it, whiskey in and of itself. Part of the art of creating a consistent quality product is choosing which barrels to blend them and so that was something that I learned coming on board. I was brought on board as a brewer. I'm a trained brewer, and you're talking about how you came to be in this particular industry. And for me, I was in the Navy on board a submarine. I was in the engine room dreaming about making beer.
Yes, I've done that several times.
Yeah.
Not in the engine room. I try to stay out of the engine room as much as possible. I actually went a whole 3-month deployment without ever going in the engine room.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm proud of that, man.
That's funny.
My Cobb, if he's listening, I'm just kidding.
But so yeah, and I decided once I got out, I was a trained brewer. I did, and I was brought on board some of the liberty to really make the base of the whiskey more of a beer grade whiskey, or sorry, beer grade beer rather than distiller's grade beer,
Right.
with the idea that the finished product will be that much better for it. And we feel that really has become better for it. And so, when we had the tasting room open, we got our brewery license back in 2016. We decided that we're gonna start selling the beer, the base beer. So the battle prize made from Belgian triple. That's what it starts off.
Really?
The uprising is made from Belgian stout. And we've since introduced different product lines. So we actually make a Geneva style gin that starts off as a Belgian wit. Then we've made an Oktoberfest whiskey based on Oktoberfest beer.
Yes.
We've made a Hefeweizen whiskey based on a Hefeweizen beer. So really, Sons of Liberty was founded with the principle that, hey, the owner wondered why whiskey are not made from this very style of beer.
Right.
So that's where we started off. We sort of continuing that idea with different products. And so, we're not against why not make a Pilsner whiskey or some other type of lager whiskey, which Oktoberfest obviously is lager. We made one that. But so I came on board to work on the beer, and we benefited from it. But anyways, I was saying, as far as the tasting room, we made the base beers that the whiskey becomes, and we're offering that base beer alongside with the whiskey, so you can pair the base beer and the whiskey itself. And we found that quite interesting. People really enjoyed the stout with the uprising, and they found parallels that they wouldn't have found otherwise if they just taken the whiskey itself, the beer by itself, and then likewise with the other triple.
So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know any of this till today.
Yeah.
But it's like whiskey, you distill it and you make it out of corn, blah blah blah. Like read about how they distill like regular whiskey, but I never knew the extent of it. Like I'm literally blown away. Like you're telling me all this stuff about how whiskey is made with beer. And that to me is I'm just like, because I mean that's awesome. Now
Combining two of your favorite things.
yes, so yeah, you can find a way to put pizza in that too. So
we'll try that next.
Yeah,
I've had a bacon beer. When I pizza beer.
Yes, I had a bacon beer. I had a bacon whiskey. I've had a bacon whiskey too. Well, I'm not a big fan of the whole flavored whiskey things.
Yeah.
Now I know you guys do some, like you do. You have a pumpkin whiskey, which I tried and it's pretty good.
Yeah. And we haven't done it long yet. We have.
Yeah, you guys did like the seasonal whiskeys. You guys were the first ones to do that, correct?
I don't know if we were the first one. I really don't know. I don't think we were.
Okay. It was a while ago. Like.
Well, this one we have here is the Gala apple, which besides selling it here, we also cooked with it.
Yes, that's right. You made a dessert.
We made an apple cake.
Yeah, I remember that.
That sold crazy. Yeah.
Really good. I remember asking my sister to make
Yeah.
But
we can do that.
I think we're one of the first ones to really focus on natural ingredients in the flavorings of the whiskey. So, for example, the pumpkin whiskey, that was very, very labor intensive. So we contracted out a local farmer in Rhode Island, and
Okay.
anyways, they grew I think the last year we made it was 20,000 pounds of sugar pumpkins, and so we actually had to recruit a lot of volunteers to help us process it. We were fortunate enough to go over to Rock's Foods in Rhode Island. They let us use their facility, and we literally had like 20 people cutting sugar pumpkins in half, pouring the seeds out of them, putting them aside in the bin, and then bringing them all to our location and renting a bunch of ovens and pumpkins.
Thank you, Carlo.
Then taking an old wine press, pressing the pumpkins, extracting the juice, and then we essentially proof the whiskey down with pumpkin juice. We added some spices.
That's awesome, and it's delicious. I was very skeptical of it because I'm not a pumpkin anything.
Right.
Pumpkin pie is like the only pumpkin thing that I like. Reese's peanut butter cups like shaped like a pumpkin. That's it.
It wasn't something that was like overly sweet.
Right.
It had the essence of pumpkin and spice, but it was
that was perfect. It was like it was festive, right? So I could sit out there and sit outside in front of a fire with my friends, and we could sip on that, and it's good. Right? It's not something you're just like take it and you don't feel like you just like a pumpkin just went in your mouth. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like some of these with like Fireball, that's too much. Too much flavor.
That's what happens when you add too much baked sweetener, though, too.
Yes, you get too much of something, and it's not good.
Yeah.
Like you get overwhelmed by it. Like your mouth gets overwhelmed by something. Like I'm a big sour guy. I like sours. Like this sour, by the way, is one of my favorites. And
Will's a big sour fan.
yes, I'm a sour guy. And some of the sours, like for instance, Hope's Brewing, they make sours now, and they're one of my new favorites.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had them yet.
I haven't.
Actually, on Thursdays now they have a thing at D&G out in Canterbury. They have Hope's pop-up shop every Thursday. So that's kind of cool. So you can get some sours out there.
Yeah.
Their sours are good, but they're not too much. Like some of these sours you get, like I'm not going to say any other names in case I don't want to put anybody down. I like their beer, but when I'm drinking it, I don't want it to be like I'm drinking like kids juice. You know what I'm saying? Some of that is good.
I feel like sours are, well, in a lot of ways, sort of like where, particularly with barrel sour beers, you're gonna have you got an organism that's gonna do its thing. It's not gonna go according to what you plan.
Right.
Right. So all you can do is sort of set the table and sort of guide them into a direction. But you're gonna have barrels that are gonna develop in different ways. And I think in order to find balance, I think that's what you're getting at is that some of these sours are not balanced.
It's too
They're
much.
either too acidic or too funky or too dry, whatever the case may be.
And I think it's more like too much of a flavor. Like you put too much into it. Like it's like I will say, because I know nobody from Trillium's listening, so I'm gonna say so they have a series right now called Daily Serving.
Yeah.
And it's good, but some of them are just too much, man. Like when's enough? Like it's like a V8 of beer sours. Like you put all these things in one beer, and eventually you just lose what you're trying to get. You lose what you're going at, what you're the look. I would say the look, but the taste you're going after. You lose that by putting way too much stuff in it. Like this. This is blackberries.
Which one are you drinking? The one on tap now?
Yes.
So that's a triple berry, blackberry, blueberry, and raspberry.
Yes, and this is.
So the reason that there's 3 too is because I really wanted to make a blueberry sour, but blueberries are such a soft fruit that the flavor really doesn't come through. So my intention was to do blueberry and blackberry and have like a purple colored beer. Well, you had to add a little raspberry in there for it to really get the tang that I was looking for. So, and because of that, my newest sour that comes out next week is black currant and raspberry, which my intention was to make it like cranberry sauce, but without using cranberry. And it's straight up like I don't even like sours. Let me just throw that out there. I make them, but I don't like them. I don't appreciate them. My staff does, and it tastes like if I'm ready for Thanksgiving dinner.
Well, I just had some.
To me,
I just had some right out of the fermenter before we came on, and it's amazing. It's amazing. Like I can't wait to try it when it's at the where I'm looking for.
Carbonated.
Thank you.
Carbonated.
God, moron.
That'll give it a little.
You carbonate it, yeah. It's gonna be.
Yeah.
Like this is perfect because you have the flavor that you're looking for in this one. Because I'm getting all 3 of the berries, but I'm not like blown away by the flavor. It's just enough where you can enjoy it, right? Like some of those beers I drink, those sours, after you take if I drink half of one, your taste buds are just dead.
Right.
Like it has that weird taste on your tongue, and it's like not tasting anything else. Like I take it like if you go to Yankee Candle, you've been up there,
Yeah.
the big Yankee Candle store,
Yep.
and you're smelling candles all day long, and after a while you don't smell anything.
Right.
You just smell the same thing over and over again. And it's the same thing with drinking sours, in my opinion. Is you have too much of one thing, too much of all these different things, eventually everything tastes exactly the same. There's no uniqueness to it, and that's why I like this one because it's uniqueness because it's just enough tart, it's just enough flavor. It's not heavy. Like some of those sours are like almost like syrup. Some of them are really good. And there's a place in Delaware called Dewey Brewing, Dewey Beach, Delaware, and their sours they're like. I'll try to bring them for you. They're.
I do
amazing.
think they have to be well balanced though, and actually, I picked Will's brain probably about 5 times before because we've chatted a lot about beer because obviously we both have a big passion for beer. And I probably picked his brain about 5 or 6 times before I finally honed in on exactly how I wanted my recipe to come out. and now it's like a well-oiled machine. But it has so much to do with the living organism if they want to eat the way you want them to eat and how fast they eat. And then in addition, temperature. Because I find that it's a lot harder for me to brew a good, consistent sour in the summer months compared to the winter months. So it's a lot about water temperature and just the temperature that I can keep the kettle at. I think people sometimes don't appreciate how hard it is to make really consistent beer.
Yeah.
You know, you figure when you go buy like your Mick Ultra or your Bud Light, they're dumping more than I'm even making. So like, you know, to hone in on that it's a craft. It's really a craft.
Yeah, and I think we talked about that when you were on the first time when you came to the house and you guys were on about how you get those sours. Like some companies like 450 North Brewing. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. They're out of Indiana.
Okay.
They make some sours, right? And people we'd like to get some, and people ship them to us.
Yeah.
But sometimes the ones that are like really have a lot of fruit in them, they explode.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's been a couple where you opened,
Yeah.
they just went everywhere, like a bottle of champagne when you shake it up.
Yeah.
And it was because the fruit is like so you know when it's going to happen too because the can looks like almost like a ball.
Yeah.
The top's popped out, the bottom's popped out,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah,
it
that
can explode. Yeah,
Who knows if they're just adding fruit flavor after it's done fermenting or right before bottling, but
I don't know. Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeast gets in there and it
Okay.
keeps eating.
You know, that's why a lot of like lambics tend to be fairly dry.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I can think of is, say, for example, like living in French Wall, right?
yeah.
Super sweet, but they pasteurize like
Yeah.
after it's bottled, right?
I do the raspberry one. That's
Yeah.
delicious.
It is delicious.
It's good, like drizzled over like some kind of like ice cream or something.
What?
Make it into dessert. You ever tried
Eat
that?
it with dark
No.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Eat it with dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Telling you.
Yeah, that sounds like I'm gonna do that. Thanksgiving is like the perfect time to try that. Hey, let's try this because you sit around the table and it's obviously without more than 10 people. You don't want to get things
Eight.
on.
It's 8 now.
Is it 8 people? I don't.
8
There's
people.
only 4 of us. But then you get your friends and you try like, oh, hey, let's try this.
Yeah.
Let's try that. Hey, let's put this on that or this on that. Like ice cream in a stout. Ice cream in a like a coffee stout
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
I never thought I would like it, but that is good.
Can't beat a good stout float.
I never.
Should try that one.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk more about the whiskey. Like there are different kinds. You guys are single malts.
Single malts, although we have done other whiskeys that are not single malts. So we
Okay.
actually made a Rhode Island Blend that we released, I want to say a couple of years ago. We haven't done it. We have some in the barrels right now that are ready. But, it's been a while since we released them. That came out really good. We used 100% Rhode Island grown corn, made a corn whiskey out of it, ended up calling it bourbon. Very happy with it. We've made, pale malt whiskey. We've made various, as you mentioned, flavored whiskeys. We have a chamomile honey whiskey that we're going to be putting out
That
recently.
sounds good.
And then we've done something that we've done a lot of as of late is different barrel finishes. So we, for example, did a barrel fry finish in a Pedro Jimenez sherry barrel. I don't know if you ever had PX sherry. It's a type of sherry from Spain that's really, really sweet, very complex. And so we got some barrels from Spain, put the whiskey in it, aged it for about a year or so. Fantastic.
Sounds really good.
Came out really, really good.
So we talk about the barrels, right? So that what distinguishes different breweries. Like if I go to Makers or Jack Daniels or something like that, your guys, is it the barrels that they age it in? I mean, what's the difference?
Well, so
What makes a really good whiskey if I'm buying Thames Best in the bottom shelf of the package store?
I mean, barrel does have something to do with it. Obviously, your starting ingredients really
Right.
play a factor in it. Your whole process plays a factor in it. So with a lot of your Kentucky bourbons or your Tennessee sour mashes, they're obviously going to have a large proportion of corn and some other adjuncts going into it. And then they're a lot of times over fermented on the grain, and so it's and then they're typically fermented hot. Right? So they're allowed to rise to 80 plus degrees of ferment higher. And I find that creates sort of this like funky fermentation profile.
Okay.
You get a lot of what, as a brewer, we really perceive as flaws, right? A lot of ester, components, a lot of other flavor components. Which to me, when I drink the bourbon, I taste that funkiness exclusively to the finished product. We call those components congeners. So you got like esters and all kinds of other components besides ethanol that carry on into the finished product and fermentation. Then you age that in a barrel. So the barrel aging process is going to create even more complexity. So give it the color. You heard of raw, like white dog and so forth.
Yeah,
Whiskey coming out of the still is crystal clear, right? It doesn't get its color until after it's gone through the barrel for an extended period of time. So the longer you age it, the more happens in that barrel.
Right.
Bourbon gains its sweetness from the barrel. So the alcohol actually affects sugars in the wood itself. That's what causes it to be sweet.
That's awesome.
Sweeter, right?
That's great. Yeah,
And
it's pretty cool perspective. Like
Yeah.
not hearing, like not knowing like these kind of things,
Right.
like getting that kind of perspective, like trying to knowing how different flavors come out. So
Right.
like different kind of wood makes different kind of
Well,
flavor in the whiskey.
for like bourbons and even the American single malts, it's actually prescribed by law that it needs to be aged in brand new charred American oak barrel.
Oh wow, okay.
Right? So it's very specific as to what it needs to be. So the wood is what it is, you know, and really it's the finished product a function of the environment. So like in bourbon country, they have these ginormous warehouses and they rotate the barrels. And so the higher levels are going to be experience higher temperatures, especially during the warmer months. That causes the barrel to expand, the pores of the wood expand, the whiskey gets drawn into the wood itself.
Yeah.
Whereas the lower barrels, something cooler, that wood's going to contract slightly more. It's going to push out some of that whiskey. So essentially, if you can imagine, you're taking a wood sponge and you're sort of soaking up the whiskey and then bringing it back out. Right? So you're creating more contact with the wood, more extraction from the wood itself into the whiskey.
Just like fine wine.
Right. And so, you know, a lot of distilleries create their branded flavor by doing that, rotating barrels, choosing barrels, the length of time they age it, the blending process, right? That's why you have, you know, let's say you have a Jack Daniels, maybe you have a Jack Daniels single barrel, right?
Right.
It's going to be completely different products. And that's just a result of barrel and blending.
Right. So like every batch could conceivably taste different.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the challenge is maintaining that consistency. That's why Jack Daniels bottles can always be something.
Yeah.
Tastes good. And then to answer your question about why a $10 bottle of whiskey is not as good tasting as maybe $50 whiskey.
Right.
Maybe this was aged for like 6 months, and then maybe food coloring was added in order to make it look.
They add chips too to the barrels now, don't they? Like to get extra contact.
Yes, you can have like wood chips. You can have
So
like
it speeds the process.
which speeds the process. In the beginning, we did that. We added wood staves in a big container, and before we put it into the barrels to try to expedite the process, and then we use smaller barrels. See some right there, for example, 10-gallon barrels.
Yep.
And what that does is it allows you to turn a product of whiskey around much quicker because you have higher volume to surface area ratio, meaning that more liquid is exposed to more wood, and thereby the aging process is shortened as opposed to the 53-gallon barrel where you have less wood per the volume of liquid, and so it takes much longer. So let's say I age Battle Cry in a 10-gallon barrel, maybe I age it for a year to 18 months, whereas in a 50-gallon barrel, I'm going from maybe 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so the size of the barrel will determine how long you age it for.
Right, it has a big impact on that.
So what's typical?
I mean, it really varies on what you're trying to achieve. There's distilleries out there that might turn around in 2 years or less, and there's some that are you're looking at 10, 12 years.
Let's see. I was going to ask about that. So like, I do like if I'm going to drink foreign Scotch whiskey, I like Bushmills. I like aged. Like I bought a bottle when I splurged on a bottle of Bushmills 35.
Yep.
Down in the Virgin Islands.
Okay.
And that bottle would have been a couple $200-300 here, and I think I paid like $80-90. But I mean, so that was aged 35 years in a barrel.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what I figured, obviously. I mean, seems crazy that sat in that barrel for that long.
Yeah.
And it's so delicious. Like it's so smooth, and you don't get that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes you have a whiskey that's not as good, because that's how I tell if whiskey is good. If I don't make that face when I swallow it down, then I know it's well made and it's good.
That fight.
I promised myself that I would never bend down to pick a whiskey off the shelf the rest of my life. I'm either going to reach out or up. I'll never bend down ever again. I make enough money now where I ain't going to bend down. But back in my younger days, I was going for that, the plastic liter.
Yeah.
James Best. That was what I drank back then. Yeah, it was not good. They had it at the Packy on base. It was like $9 for a liter. Yeah, no good.
But you know what? At that time, you're not drinking the taste.
No. Exactly. Full effect. Yes.
I named a beer after situations like that called Make Good Choices.
I rarely made good choices up until I was about 29, 30 years old.
That's
Not
most of us.
coincidentally, that was also the time that I met Brent. So,
There you go.
so yeah, we talked about all the awards you guys have won. I mean, I could sit here for 20 minutes and list the amount of awards you guys have won. And I mean, I think that those are great for you guys, and you guys love that, and it's great to put on your website or whatever. But I think and I think you could probably attest to this. It's better when you get somebody who tries it. It's like, wow, this is excellent. I mean, winning all the awards is great. You guys have won awards too.
Yep.
But having the people that drink your beer and drink your whiskey just tell you how great it is and how much they love it, and they keep coming back for more. That's probably better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had a taste room. It's been closed now.
Yeah.
But and I honestly, I'm in production. I generally work during the day, and I rarely would work tasting room in a bar.
Right.
But every now and then, I enjoy going back there and maybe hosting a tour or whatever, and talking to people and getting that feedback.
Yeah.
It was always really enjoyable.
It was good, and
It's
it
nice
makes
to get that
you,
reaction.
more pride in your job. That's awesome. Yeah. So we'll talk the difference between the uprising and the battle cry. Like, what's the difference between those two?
So, well, first they start off as two different beers, right? So the uprising it starts off as oatmeal stout.
Yep.
And then the battle cry starts off as Belgian triple. We're
Okay.
using West Mountain. And so that's the first step. Now, we go into distillation process. Distillation process is pretty much identical. The wood aging process is very similar. Same type of wood, brand new charred American oak barrels. For very similar periods of time, depending on the size of barrel that you're putting it in. But they're very two different whiskeys. So I find that the battle cry actually some of that Belgian characteristics carries on over into the product. Golden stout, you do get some of that stout characteristics, the choppiness, maybe some of the roastiness into it. But I don't personally think that it's as complex as. So for me, battle cry, if I have to choose one or two, I can both. I'm wrong.
Right.
If I choose one or two, I choose battle cry.
Right. I haven't had uprising yet. Now I'm going to make it a mission. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get myself a bottle of it. But I definitely enjoy that. I have it right next to my bottle of Maker's 46. So you guys are up there on the good side. I have a good side, and I have the when you have company, you drink this, but when you have good friends, you drink this. It's on the good friend side. So you have to remember that. You guys come over. Which side is the battle cry on? I took it off the other side.
I'll have to get you some of that cherry barrel finish.
Yeah, I would like to try that. Yeah, that's awesome. So now this one here we talked about. This one's the
Gala.
apple Gala apple. So how do you guys do that? Do you guys use raw apples when you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we took our one of our base whiskeys, and we actually took some apples. We got I think it was Gala. Yeah.
Yep.
Gala. And we found a local cidery that crushed the apples for us.
Okay.
And made it into cider for us. And we brought that all the way back to the distillery, and we blended that into whiskey. And then we realized that it's missing something, so we peeled a bunch of Granny Smith apples and steeped the peels into the whiskey, and got a little bit more acidity to it to balance it out, and that's it. 100% natural.
I like it, and that's also important, right? Because you get some of these, even with beer too, like get like artificial flavors.
Right.
Like drinking something, and I want to know that that's the real flavor. You know what I mean?
Honestly, we've experimented with extracts and flavorings. And it's
never the same, right? You get that natural.
Like we when we were making the flavored beers, we were trying raspberry stouts and various flavors and fruits, and we were trying to make our own version of hazy IPA. We were trying to different flavorings and 100% natural fruit flavor.
Yeah, that's why I like. And it makes it better. Makes the beer better. It's a little bit more difficult of a process, but it's
more expensive.
It's more expensive, right? And that's why people don't get. Hey, you paid $25 for that 4-pack of beer. Well, you know what the process of going in, what it takes to make this stuff, and yeah, it's worth it because again, cheap ain't good.
Yeah.
And good ain't cheap. So
I gotta tell you, the raspberry, it's the best one.
Yeah.
You ever try to juice a raspberry?
And not.
You're not getting much out of it.
No.
So it takes a lot of raspberries.
Nice.
Completely agree with you. We use raspberries a lot. But I also want to say, like, depending on the year, like, unless you're, like, if you're drinking a pumpkin beer, for example, in June, there's not real pumpkin in
Leftover.
that beer. Yeah, it's either leftover or they use some type of synthetic. So good things also take time, is what I'm going.
Yes. You guys you have a pumpkin beer, right? It's called Norwich.
So our regular imperial is called Norwich, and then because the locals around town call Norwich.
Norwich.
And then the less alcoholic version that we started brewing last year for the Big E, we call Lil Norwich, LIL.
You guys, now talk to me about like how many pumpkins you guys use. Like, do you guys do the same thing as them? Do you guys like do the pumpkin extract, or do you guys have to go get pumpkins and like smash them up and?
So we've done different variations. So with the imperial, we actually got about 25 pumpkins, cut them in half, roasted them. Actually roasted them with like traditional pumpkin pie spices like cinnamon and nutmeg. And then this past year, because it was such a dry year, we had a hard time getting all the pumpkins we needed. So we took canned pumpkins, roasted it, and then used pumpkin pie seasoning. When we roasted the puree, the true puree, and then we added puree this year to the mash. So it made the aromatics of the pumpkin really come out because we put the real pumpkin in the kettle when it was boiling. So you got the extract out of that, and you got the pumpkin pulp without any synthetics or sugars in the mash. So I actually like the way this batch came out better than anyone I've ever done. But every year we kind of like do things with a twist to see which one we like better. I love to tell the story about how when I was a home brewer, I probably made 40 different batches of my Thames River Red. And every time I would go to my dad and I'd be like, try this. What do you get? And he was like, honey, number 3 was the best. Just go back to number 3. Like, so, and, between him and my husband, they were my hardest critics. But over time, you kind of like, my palate has increased. My husband's a trained sommelier, so his palate is like crazy on point. If I make like, an IPA and he's like, this doesn't taste right. Like you use 2 pounds less, I can tell. Like, I'm like, screw me, but it's fun.
But it's a labor of love, right? Both of you guys, put in a lot of work into your craft, and it shows because your guys' beer is great, your whiskey is great, and as someone who enjoys both of them, I definitely appreciate it. So, and I know people that listen. Hopefully, you guys, people that are out there watching, listening, you guys have tried Sons of Liberty. If you haven't, please go get some. If you go to their website, sonsofliberty.com, and you can go. There's a map on there. Is it? If you guys update that map, it shows you where you can get Sons of Liberty. There's like one of your red slashes.
Yeah.
And it points to every place you can get.
Try
Sons
their
of Liberty.
canned cocktails. Oh my goodness.
Yo.
Oh my
Let's talk about that.
Nice.
All right. So yes. So we got boozed right before Halloween, right?
Okay.
So someone dropped a little gift off on our porch, and it was a little bag full of adult beverages.
Okay.
And there was some of your loyalties are in there. I think there was like the watermelon lemonade one.
Yeah.
And those things are fantastic. Now, what I will say is, you have to respect those because if they're not something that you're gonna hammer down 4 or 5 of them, and then go mow your grass.
Yeah.
That's something you hammer down 4 or 5 of them after you mow your grass, and then if you don't plan on going anywhere for the rest of the night, that's when you hammer down 4 or 5 of them. Because listen, they're good all the time, but they're especially amazing.
They sneak up on you. They're
on a
so
hot
good.
day. On a hot day, you put one of those over ice.
The
Forget about
blueberry
it.
one? Oh my god. You brought me like a blueberry 4-pack before? Oh my god.
I'm a fan of the watermelon lemonade. That one is and the regular lemonade.
So that's a fairly new product line that we released a couple years back, and it's taken off from really well. So Blue 9 lemonade cocktail series, they're all 9%. And so that's why they'll knock you down after,
Oh, yeah.
after 4 packs.
So my first time, I did not respect. I was like, oh, this little can.
Yeah.
What's this gonna do? It's just, it's a little bit of lemonade. One of the. It's not a White Claw.
Yeah, and they
So
went
I
out
just
so
hammered-
it's easy to get carried away.
Hammered 4 of those down in about 20, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I sat my ass down for the next 2 hours. And I learned to respect them after that because I did not at first because I didn't think. I mean, I drink, high alcohol, high ABV beers all the time.
Right.
But that's a little different. That hits you a little different
Yeah.
because you can drink them quickly.
Yeah. It doesn't have the carb. They're not carbonated.
Right, and it's not as heavy on the boozy side as some of those other ones are. Like the Long Island Lemonade, I learned a hard lesson with those one day, but I thought it would be different. But yours guys was on the sweeter, more flavorful side. Like the Fisher's Island Lemonade is good, but I think it's too.
Okay.
Like your guys' stuff is just the right amount, where it's not too sweet, but it's also not like it's not like a shot.
Yeah.
It's actually it has good drinkability. So yeah, crushability. But again, please do not crush. Don't sit there and crush the whole 4-pack because you will regret that.
We've since released a seltzer line.
Really?
Seltzers as well. Those are 4.5%. So you could drink a seltzer along the lawn and then it's done.
Yeah, my
There you
lawnmower.
go. Support local.
My lawnmower does have a cup holder, by the way. So that's awesome. So there's a couple other things you mentioned that you guys do gin as well, right? Because I know I have some friends that are gin drinkers. So what's the process like? How different is the process of making gin from distilling whiskey?
So the gin is typically not barrel aged.
Okay.
That's the primary difference. And two, even though we double distill our whiskey, not all whiskey is double distilled. Some are, maybe ran to a pasta and done one. Our gin is going to, by nature, going to be double or triple distilled. So it starts off as your base spirit. So let's say ours starts off as a Belgian wit, true born gin, and we'll make the beer. Beer's finished. We'll go ahead and distill it. Now we have our distillate, base gin, and then we'll go ahead and put it back into the still and we get to install the gin basket. The gin basket essentially, you're running the alcohol through a basket that's filled with aromatics, different botanicals.
Okay.
Whether it be fresh lemongrass, Geneva. Obviously, a gin has to have Geneva in order to be called a gin. And various other components, whether it be fuel or whatever it is. It runs the gamut. Every gin maker has their own recipe for what the botanicals are going to be.
You mentioned, what was the one you mentioned that has to be called a gin?
Juniper.
Juniper. Okay. And there's something else too that every gin does too, other than juniper. Is it not, or is it just?
Maybe there is. I'm just not aware.
I am not a gin drinker.
Yeah.
I had a really bad experience at a younger age.
Oh, really?
So I have not had gin since.
I love gin.
Now, I was never a gin drinker, and I always found gins to be sort of too perfumey in a way. Like it's just too much. Kind of too much flavoring.
Yeah.
And maybe in part because I try to drink gin straight up, and don't want to drink gin straight up.
Nope.
But,
I will contest to that.
Yeah. Ours are Geneva style gin, and Geneva versus the London Dry, for example, there's differences between the two. One is more of a vodka base, and the other one is malt base. Ours is a malt base, which is put into the and then the way that we infuse our botanicals and the amount that we infuse it tends to be a little more approachable.
Okay.
And so I had no problem drinking it, say, with a box. And it really ended up great and I found product.
So what would you like?
Fantastic.
I mean, I always thought gin was an old man's drink. Like,
Oh God, no.
well,
Oh,
I always
God,
see
no.
like because when I was younger, all the old guys drank gin and tonic.
Yeah.
It was gin this and gin that. And I'm like, all right, that's an old man drink.
You know,
Like, but what do you drink? Like,
Like my cocktail?
Yeah. What do you drink it with?
A good martini is gin, Saint Germain, and a touch of prosecco on the top.
So what about like if you said you're drinking on the rocks? Would you put like some lemon rind in it or an orange? Just drink it straight.
Ice and sugar.
So you couldn't drink it neat. Like there's no. You don't drink it room temperature.
Ice. It's a preference.
Because I'll try it again. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do the Sons of Liberty gin.
Try it on the rock. See how you like it, and then make it a mixed drink. I would recommend a Tom Collins, which
See, that's another old man drink.
If memory serves, it's
a classic.
It's gin, seltzer, lemon juice, and some simple syrup.
That's it.
And that's really cool.
I'll drink that.
Especially on a hot day.
Yeah. All right.
Drinking that over ice. Oh, so good.
I would drink that.
You know.
So all right. So speaking of that, let's try this. You gonna have some?
Sure.
All right. Let's try some of this Gala apple by Sons of Liberty, and it's so good. I have not had this variety yet, so I'm excited about this.
It's hard to get.
I haven't had it for quite a while.
I've ordered some bottles. Yes, I've ordered some bottles, my friend.
I don't know if we have any.
This is the last one, but I tried to get recently something different that you make. I think it actually was the Battle Cry, and there was none available in Connecticut. So if you find it, people pick it up.
Well, then my bottle at home is worth something.
You can find this?
Or no, Battle Cry.
Because I have a bottle of that, the bigger bottle, like that size bottle. So I had a smaller bottle, and I loved it. I bought it that day of the tour, and then when I went back to the Packy, I got the bigger bottle, the liter. So this is Gala Apple by Sons of Liberty, and man, it smells amazing. So cheers.
Cheers for coming on, Will. Thanks for having us, Scott.
Wow. That's amazing.
Here's a little secret. I hate whiskey, but when we first opened this bar, our rep from Northeast brought in Sons of Liberty and explained that it's made locally in Rhode Island, and we bought every kind of everything that they made. And I had no idea that Will worked there. Like, he had been a customer for a while. He had been a customer for a while, and then I greeted them at the table one day, and he introduced himself, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And now we chat all the time, and I love his wife and kids. It's great.
We've enjoyed them.
This is very good. This is very smooth.
It's so smooth,
and it's subtle. The apple is very subtle. The whiskey taste is there. You get the apple at the back end of it, but it's super subtle and easy drinking.
Do you get a little acidity sort of at the end,
yes,
kind of balancing out the sweetness.
This would be nice. I have whiskey rocks at home.
Yep.
This would be nice.
See, I like it room temp.
I like it room temp is good. I usually drink my. I was a room temp guy always. But then I had someone gave me whiskey one night with an ice ball in it.
Yeah.
And I liked it cold.
Yeah.
So I don't like to water down.
Yeah.
So I bought. My wife bought me I bought the stainless steel brick little rocks.
Yep.
And those things are great, little cubes.
Yeah.
And it's perfect. It stays cold, and I like it. Yeah. This is very good at room temperature. Perfect.
Thank you.
Very good.
I haven't had it in quite a while, so I haven't yet.
So if you're tuning in late, I'm here with Will Santiago from Sons of Liberty and Becca Alberts from These Guys Brewing. We are live at These Guys Brewing right now, and we've been talking to whiskey distilling, talking about beers, talking to how you make whiskey from beer, which is a new concept to me. I did not know this, and now I am super, super knowledgeable about it. And now I'm going to learn everything I possibly can about it, because I think that is the coolest thing probably I've ever heard about beer. You make whiskey from beer, so that's very cool. So as we're coming to the end of the show, I always do a little segment on my show called The Great Debate. And I put up today, because it's getting close to holidays, I put up today, what's the best holiday? Right, because we do these things last week we did what's the best Halloween candy. We did who's the greatest quarterback of all time. So I try to keep it with a theme. So this week is what's the best holiday, and I had my listeners go on my Facebook page and leave me some stuff. And I have to say, overwhelmingly, it's Christmas.
Really?
Christmas. What's your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving? Why?
Because the family gets together and we watch football. In previous years, we watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. And then if my team in particular, which absolutely sucks this year,
The Jets are
sucks.
never on Thanksgiving Day.
Correct. But if the Dallas is playing like a shitty team, then we always watch The Blind Side.
Oh,
That's
all
like
right.
our family tradition.
Yeah.
What about you? Will? What do you?
I have a 6 and a 7-year-old, so it's Christmas.
Christmas.
And the lead up to it.
I am.
It's cool.
See, I bleed red, white, and blue, man. So my favorite holiday is Independence Day.
Yeah.
But I'm a probably crazier than most with red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Barbecue and
I mean, like this year, this year we went. We went on the boat on my buddy's boat out on the pond, and it was very raucous and festive. But I mean, it's a great day because it's summer. That's part. I think that's part of it. Is because if it's summer and if it's a beautiful day, you can do so many different things. But I'm with you too. I love Christmas and I have great memories of Christmas. Thanksgiving, I think, is the best because it's always family, football.
Yeah.
It's a good time, and it's always like, we started doing when we moved to Griswold, we started doing like family thing during the day, and then we'd have friends come over for dessert.
Yeah.
And do dessert with our friends. So it's kind of, I think Thanksgiving to me would probably, other than Independence Day.
I do love the 4th of July.
Yeah, because you could do so many great things.
Yeah. I feel like a better answer for me would be to call it the holiday season and the lead up from Thanksgiving to Christmas is really the best time of year in my opinion, right? Like with the little kids, the anticipation of Christmas coming and then Thanksgiving, spending time with family and
yes.
the lead up.
In fact, my tree is up.
Is
already?
Really?
Yep, I put it up Sunday. It's 2020. It's 2020. Like what? I mean, can you get any stranger than what's going on right now in our country?
My wife cannot see this podcast because she's always getting me to put Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving, and I always say nope, December 1st.
Yes.
Not only that, some of the staff just walk through the room
They heard me say that. They're like, what?
Their heads whipped around like already.
No, my tree is up. We have 2 trees. We have one in our family room and then one in the living room. In the front of the house, so people can see when they go past the house, they see our tree. And the other one's in the back of the house. That's when we sit around on Christmas morning. But it's up because
Why not?
we didn't decorate
This year,
for
why
Halloween
not?
because my kids are older. My daughter's 8th grade and my son's a sophomore, and they're so busy they don't get to Halloween. My son had a lacrosse tournament on Halloween, so we didn't even get to celebrate Halloween. He came home. He was supposed to go to a party, but we got home at like 9:30 and he was done. He played 3 lacrosse games and he was wasted. So he didn't do it. So we said, you know what? Put the tree up early. Because normally it's a tradition. The day after Thanksgiving, we go get our tree. But we stopped buying real trees because I'm done with that. I'm over it. Right? Because I always had a fig tree until we moved here to Griswold. And good friends of ours own a big tree farm in Griswold, and Muir Tree Farm. And we always got a tree. And we have a 20-foot ceiling in our family room. So I said, I'm going to get the absolute biggest tree I could find. I bought a 12.5-foot Christmas tree.
Oh my god!
So it was cool getting it in, right? So I got it in the house.
Pictures on your website of this. I want to see it.
I have some pictures of it.
I'm just envisioning moving off and like jumping on.
So remember on Christmas
tree.
Vacation when they brought the tree in the house?
Squirrel comes out.
And he cut down the tree and he put it in and they undid it and it just went everywhere and it went in the neighbor's window. That's what it was like when I put that tree because it came in my house wrapped. So me and my buddy slid it through the slider, brought it into the house and stood it up in the stand. As soon as I cut the rope, it was like my whole entire house was taken up by a Christmas tree. That was cool because it was the once. This is gonna happen one time ever. But to get it out, I had to cut it in 4 pieces to get it out. So we're over that. We went and bought a 10-foot high artificial tree, one of those skinny ones.
Yeah.
We got it like 2 weeks after Christmas, and Home Depot was like, "Please just take it." It was like a $300 tree. We got it for $45. So we couldn't say no to that. Yeah. So no more.
Yeah.
$45 doesn't even get you a real tree anymore.
Yeah.
So it's fake trees and it's up. So this every weekend from now until Thanksgiving, we'll do more and more. Until Thanksgiving weekend, we'll decorate it. But it's up. It's lit. So cool. Christmas is cool, and like you're right. I think the run up to the holiday season, Thanksgiving, and then you start doing your Christmas shopping, which is going to be a little bit different this year, I think, because
Yeah.
you're going to do most of it online
Yeah.
probably. So it is what it is. Weird times we live in, man, especially everything that's going on,
Yeah.
the election and everything. So as if 2020 could not get weirder.
I know, right? I'm ready for it to be over.
Me too.
So hopefully that 2021 is not saying hold my beer.
Remember
So,
when you're buying your Christmas gifts to support local. That's all I can
yes,
say.
please support local. Please. And speaking of local, I'd like to thank my sponsors. Obviously, these guys brewing, Epicure Brewing, GNS Auto Sales, Unify, and Mr. Beardo's Beard Oils and Tattoo Juice. Please go out, support them, and I don't know.
Everybody doing a little bit adds up.
Do your thing, man. Support local, definitely. You know, try to stay away from the big box stores. I know it's tough. Sometimes you just have to go. But if you can, if you absolutely can, please, especially now when our state is starting to close down again, support your local people because they need you. They need us to support them.
We absolutely do.
Okay, well, that's pretty much it this week. Will, thank you for coming on, buddy.
Pleasure.
It's awesome to meet you, and it's awesome to learn all these great things about whiskey and beer and how they intersect. Of course, obviously, thank you for allowing me to come here and do my show.
pleasure.
So, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
If you're watching at home, cheers to you.
Will.
Thanks for watching Just a Guy with a Beer, episode number 18. This has been Sons of Liberty Distilling at These Guys Brewing. And please be safe, drink responsibly, wear a mask in public, and definitely do not beer shame your friends. We'll see you next week. I think we have some special guests next week. I'm not sure. We haven't formed it up yet, so
Ooh, who's it gonna be?
I don't know. You know her. She's been here recently and recorded some stuff. So
My friend Courtney.
possibly
Ooh.
Courtney. She might have. She needs to let me know what day. So I think it might be this weekend. We'll see. So tune in, find out who our next guest is going to be. I have the Pink Boot Society on Tuesday night.
Very
Or
cool.
maybe one before that. So we'll see you then. Thanks again. And again, don't beer shame your friends.
I have to